Greetings, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back to another exciting episode in what I'm coining Juggernaut July. And oh goddess, has it been. That solar eclipse 2 weeks ago nearly knocked me on my astro. And as I'm getting back up and looking around, I'm realizing we're in the middle of a powerful conscious shift with the human race. Seriously. From my smartphone to yours, keep streaming for your weekly Namaste Today. Hello and welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, Sensei Christopher Witecki. Thank you for joining me and returning Namaste. Well, as I mentioned, I think the human consciousness is now at a point where we are ready to shift. I've been talking about it all year long, frankly, carrying the weight of our past life karma and trying to release it. And I'm sure that has been the story for like the last 30 years in our life, right? Clearing karma, clearing karma, clearing karma. But I have to say, in my own personal experience here, I really do believe we're upon a breakthrough in understanding and letting go of the past. And really the turning point, in my opinion, is going to be this week when we have a lunar eclipse on Friday. This is a red blood moon lunar eclipse. It conjuncts the south node. It conjuncts Mars retrograde. What that means in simple terms is a lot of parts of the old are going down. So we are giving a funeral to an old attachment, which opens up the way for joy, love, and the things that we want to manifest. So in this week's show, I'm going to do two segments. First, the Soul Collective. I'm going to talk about the whole story, where we are, what I have witnessed. I'll talk a little bit about what happened to me. I went down and had a little bit of a spiritual rebirth. And then later in our tea time, I'm going to talk about what this lunar eclipse means for each of the 12 zodiac stories or narratives. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is from Monday, July 23rd to Friday, July 27th, 2018. Looking at your 5-day moodcast, this whole week is strange, my friend. Like Alice in Wonderland, you just have to focus on each day and buckle down. On Monday, it's cloudy, overcast, and exploring. Step 0 rules the day, opening up a vortex to the other side, and the moon in Sagittarius will channel karmic melodies from your ancient past. On Tuesday, it's sunny and seeing. Your eyes are wide open as step 1, the Grandmaster step of love, rules the day, and Venus opposing Neptune brings in an altered reality. On Wednesday, it's cloudy, overcast, and rather moody with a chance of storms. Step 2 rules the day, bringing in your emotional heart's truths, and the moon crossing Saturn calls for a decision. On Thursday, it's cloudy, overcast, and learning. Step 3 rules the day, opening up new questions and horizons of learning, but Mercury retrograde starts that day, saying it's time to review the past. And then on Friday, it's cloudy, overcast, and quantum. This is the day of the lunar eclipse. Step 4 rules the day, and the moon conjuncting Earth, Mars retrograde, and Black Lilith promises a change of your fate. Well, as we look at the week ahead, truly this is a galactic thunderstorm. In my next segment, the Collective Conscious or Soul Collective, I'm going to talk about where everyone is and how I believe this is one of the most powerful shifts in your life. Taking a sneak peek at this upcoming week, this week the Soul Collective will be releasing heartbreak. And that probably sounds worse than it is, just so you know. I really think the universe has our best interest, but holy moly, are we going through kind of the spiritual cheese grater, right? This whole year has been absolutely intense. And just kind of, for those who are just joining us, welcome. Let's kind of back up where we have gone this year. 2018, in my opinion, has been really about energetically disconnecting from some of our old patterns and our old kind of anomalies, our negative anomalies, which is also known as karma. And this whole year has been kind of snip by snip, you know, step by step, kind of re-architecting our states of awareness. We worked on where we feel we belong and our self-compassion and forgiveness in Pisces, and we were then saying, trying to bring our ego up to another higher level, and then we were trying to bring our manifestations up to this new potential. And then the sun went into Gemini, and we were trying to get our attitude. And at that point, we had a grand trine in water, and that's when we really started doing some like spiritual washing machine of getting rid of some old emotional baggage. And in my research of the human race, our emotional field is the field that can feel everything. That's the whole thing. We can feel our ego, we can feel our mind, we can feel our thoughts, our negative thinking, everything. So when we went into Cancer, we were now ready to finally clear our emotional field. And this is all the resident kind of gunk energy. I see it a lot of times with my third eye as like black spots and stuff in people's auras. But we hold on to these painful pasts and memories and things. And a lot of us, just trying to survive day to day, build up this big tolerance to these feelings. And so in some cases, we're not even aware that we have them. We've pushed them to the subconscious. So once we went to Gemini, we started clearing out this negative stuff. Then we went to Cancer, and we started bringing our heart and our love into our emotional energy. And in practical terms, for most of my clients and everyone else, it was just all these old issues coming back up. Feelings you had in your 20s, or feelings you had when you were in your first job, or feelings you had growing up. And these are old feelings that hadn't really been, I think, dealt with. And we did a lot of clearing. Then came the solar eclipse about 2 weeks ago, and it was at step 20, Cancer. Now, this hit me completely by surprise. I had been doing all the clearing and whatnot. Step 20 is basically a pure blast of emotion, so it was an amplifier. Basically, it's simply that the universe turned the volume up on all emotion. And what that meant was little quiet emotions that perhaps we had been ignoring for a year or a decade or a lifetime suddenly became audible. They suddenly became in our presence. And they, on top of that, somewhat, I'd say, agitated or inflamed because of just this huge, spiritual trumpet that the solar eclipse kind of played. For me, I was doing quite well, but I energetically just dropped. My energy went to ground zero. I didn't feel sick, but I did feel paralyzed. And I basically was in this 5-day sleeping cycle where I could feel I was releasing old stuff. So it's kind of funny. I mean, all year long I've been talking about we're going to release our past life karma, we're going to release our karma. Well, for me, this event was in my 12th house, so it was my karma, it was the release, and whew, boy, was it intense. As of this moment, I'm still feeling a lot of transmutation going on inside of myself, feeling different inside my own skin, feeling much lighter inside my own skin, feeling no longer haunted by certain things inside of me anymore, just really knowing that we've come to an end with a lot of things. And I think that's what is happening for everyone, that no matter what the seas have been through and what you've been through, it was really all for a purpose of finally letting go of that and releasing those feelings from our story. Certainly they were part of our history, the history of us, but they're no longer part of the story we seek to live, in my opinion. And so it's getting comfortable in this new kind of emotional skin. And that's where we are this week. Last week, I was off the air because I needed to rest, and that was what my guides were telling me, is just rest, that this is a process, it's an ascension process. And really you just, you wouldn't get up and boogie if you're having a baby. You know what I mean? So it's like I realized I was having a baby, the new Christopher coming forward, the newest and greatest, which is what I do every time this year, by the way, with the sun in my 12th house. But this year, a galactic shift, I think, inside. And you can probably feel it in my resonance as well. So last week we were getting into the emotion of it and getting used to these waters. There were good days and there were hard days. And now we come to this week. Okay, that's what I'm bringing us all up to, bringing us up to the story. And this week is interesting. I think, first of all, with the sun in Cancer, we have built a new emotional cushion. Okay, you could call it a new childhood. So you might have had a damaged childhood. Now we have a new childhood. We're giving ourselves a new emotional slate. This cushion is necessary for us to grow our serious joy, our heartfelt intentions out of. You must have emotional love and nurturing in order to grow your personal dreams. as we move into the Sun in Leo, we now turn into planting those personal dreams. Now, this first section, the first 11 steps of Leo, really have to do with each individual facing inside their own heart where they feel out of integrity with their own heart. Okay? Feeling out of integrity with your own heart means you let yourself down, or you're still brewing about some sort of love that was lost, or you're still hurting over growing up without a mother, or you're still hurting these deep wounds. Now, these wounds, the thing about the heart is it absolutely can be repaired. I'm living evidence to this. Like, it absolutely can be repaired. That's the nature of creation. That's the nature of creativity. But it's free will. You run the show. You must declare that it heals. You must declare that you want your heart to come into the light again. You must give yourself a second chance. And that's what I think this week is about and this lunar eclipse is about. It's about releasing the heartbreaks that prevent us from moving on, that prevent us from moving into our heart and our greatest expression of ourselves. And fears are a part of it because they kind of rumble around these heartbreaks. And part of the heartbreaks are tied to us having some sort of an attachment. Okay, so you'll hear people say, "I just wanted to love her like no one else would love her." Okay, your heart is attached to loving her like no one else can love her. Okay, is it possible someone else can love her that way? Is it possible you could love someone else? You see, this is where, because of heartbreaks, we kind of like hold on to things that we want, and we hold on with like a white-knuckled fist. And over time, it's this holding on that's actually preventing you from moving on. And if you just let go and allow and release from having it having to be that way, having it to be the way your ego wants, represented by Mars retrograde, then the universe can come in and bring in what your heart truly wants next. So this is going to be a healing week. And as we move into the week, what we're going to probably have is a lot of blues. I think the people will be, your heart might be sad about all sorts of things. If you find yourself sad about something in the world, remember it's a reflection of your own sadness. So people are like, "I'm not sad, I'm just sad for those people in Croatia." And it's like, if you're sad for them, that's your heart identifying because you also are sad and you can identify with them. So this isn't a time to give a grinning smile and pretend everything's fine. This is a time to really ask your heart, "Hey, buddy," that's what I call my heart. "Hey, buddy, what do you want to heal? What do you want to get rid of? What are you tired of hurting over? Let's heal it once and for all, and move on to the story we were born to live and the expression that our heart wants to live." So as we move through the week, step 0 is on Monday. That could reveal boundary issues, heartbreaks around sexual activity, heartbreaks around betrayal, heartbreaks around abandonment, heartbreaks. So, you can kind of feel it out. So step 0 is step 1, again, abandonment. Do I love myself? Issues of loving yourself. Negative feelings about yourself on Wednesday. So any kind of negative feelings that you have, your heart has. So I think Wednesday will be the hardest day because that's when most of the black molasses will come up about how our heart really feels. And what you want to do is be very compassionate and loving. It's okay if your heart wants to kill somebody. It's okay if your heart wants to get revenge. Like, don't argue with the heart. Let it have whatever its expressions are. The truth is that's not the heart talking, but you don't want to judge yourself and what you're feeling because it just shuts you down and keeps you from seeing what's important, right? So as we go through the week, now another interesting thing is Neptune opposes Venus this entire week as the Sun enters Leo. So as the Sun enters Leo, we're checking for all of kind of the issues our heart has with us in life and not being happy with life. Our beliefs, self-limited beliefs on step 3, Thursday, and then where we belong on Friday. That's the lunar eclipse. So our heart is in this. With Venus opposing Neptune, there's this faith versus reality kind of back and forth, okay? And some people like to go into the fantasy part of it where they want to just go down to, they just want to like fantasize about how it could have been or how it should have been or how, so they go into this fantasy of how things might have been or changed or whatever, and they live in this Neptune world. And I think Venus in Virgo is saying, no, let's get real. She didn't write you back, or he never came back. It's over. They're gone. Let's get real. So there's this tug and pull through the week too to get real, right? And also Neptune on the other side is not just fantasy, but faith. So it's like, get real and have faith that you can get past this weird turning point in your journey. And you can, because we always have and we always will, right? Another theme going on through the week is just the emotions building up to the lunar eclipse. So the moon is building to a full moon status this week. So it means our emotions get more and more intense as the week goes on, okay? This is the natural cycle and flow of human consciousness. Where the moon is, as far as themes, is very interesting because it starts on Monday in Sagittarius and crossing the galactic center Monday and Tuesday, which means your feelings you're getting very passionate about your story and your history and what your soul has been through and what you've understood. And so as the moon is climbing, you're kind of having this review of your suffering and your successes and your blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like what a long, strange trip it's been, right? To quote, I can't remember their name now all of a sudden, but because I'm off on another tangent. But the point is that you're going to feel that, and then the moon goes into Capricorn right before the eclipse. Grateful Dead, thank you. As the moon goes into Capricorn right before the eclipse, suddenly now we're kind of crossing our arms emotionally on Wednesday and Thursday, and the moon crosses Saturn too, and we're kind of like making some decisions like, okay, well, I'm going to give that hero a second chance, or I'm never giving the world a chance again. So some people will decide to shut down, some people and buckle down on where they are existing, and some people will decide to go ahead and give up. It's not worth the fight. Let's move on to a greater thing. And this builds up to Friday, where the moon goes into Aquarius, and we have the full moon. And this full moon is also, of course, a lunar eclipse. And I'm going to talk about the details of the full moon in our next segment. But at this point, the full moon lunar eclipse is your soul basically says, I have had enough. I do not belong, and with the moon conjuncting Mars, I do not belong chasing after these things. I do not belong being attached to these sorts of things because my heart wants this, the sun. My heart belongs here, the sun at step 4. My heart belongs in a higher level. I belong being in the winner's circle. I belong being in the survival's ring. This is where I belong. I never belonged. My heart never wanted to be in this part ever. And this, to me, is the final, very dramatic, spiritually, c'est la vie, goodbye to the old story and the old myth, okay? And because of the gravitational pull of an eclipse, and so it is, says the universe. The universe says, and so it is. You will see that the universe carries that garbage out into the galactic wormhole and galactic center to be redigested into the universe for future creation. And we are freer and lighter to move on to what our heart wants. So in simple terms, this is going to be a release of your heartbreaks. This is going to be you saying, I'm letting this go. I'm letting this go. I just don't have the fight in me anymore, Mars retrograde. And I'm ready to move on to my next story, to my next chapter. C'est la vie, right? And at that point, we start sailing into the sun in Leo, and we start building up for the next few weeks with a solar eclipse on August 11th, kind of slingshotting or booster shotting whatever those heartfelt intentions are. So this really, to me, is the most powerful moment of the entire 2018 year. This is the moment where people will either move on or not move on. And in our next segment for Tea Time, I'm going to get into what this means for each of the 12 signs, kind of give it into a more perspective for each narrative, and what this climactic Friday lunar eclipse will mean for you. So go steep yourself some tea, and let's have our weekly Tea Time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our Tea Time. Today's Tea Time topic is Blood Moon Lunar Eclipse. And I'm definitely adding some drama there for some flavor. But I do think this is actually a very powerful moment in human collective consciousness history. I really do. I think this is the moment, this eclipse, where we officially let go of certain things our ego and heart was so attached to, so holding on to, with white knuckles. And see, we were holding on to these things because we were reacting from a prior karmic event in past lives and prior karmic failures. So I know in my case, what I realized in the last 10 days, I was born running out of my mom's womb, like ready to fight. Like I was born in that position, and I just went racing down the street without even turning back. And I think a lot of us were kind of born in some sort of a karmic fight or a karmic position or a determination to right a wrong, basically. And I think that this desire to right a wrong in all of us, because we all, in my opinion, are inherently good. I disagree. Everything out of Christ consciousness is good and light. You can go get lost for a while, but you're pretending. You're not what your true essence is. So I feel like almost all of us, consciously or subconsciously, our heart wanted to make it right. Our heart wanted to make things good, and we have been like kind of ego and heart focused since birth on some sort of attachment. So, in my opinion, this lunar eclipse is literally God going, let go of that. You know what I mean? Like, let go of that. Quit holding on to that, so to speak. And within you, I think that is exactly what happens, is that you're going to have to let go of some sort of fight. You're going to have to let go of some sort of lifelong battle. That does mean that you failed, and that's what the ego doesn't want to do, and that's how you get caught up in staying in the cycles. The ego wants to fix it. The ego wants to fix it. You can't fix the past. All you can do is not manifest it in the future. That's how consciousness works. So for us, this is literally, and for me, this is what I'm experiencing, is I have been basically under a spell my whole life, in my opinion. As much as awake as I thought I had been, I've been under a spell. So determined, so stubborn to prove something to myself and to the world, and that is that humanity is good, it's worth investing in, blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of things you guys would agree with, you know, obviously if you're watching. But the point is what I have felt in the last few days, and I think this is what you're going to experience too, is I still care about those things, but it doesn't define me anymore. It's not going to define me. I'm not going to lose sleep and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to take each day with my heart and my intentions and create the life I want. The life I want is not going to be based on the life I don't want. Does that make sense? And that's kind of what it is. It's like we have been, I think, running subconsciously, trying to prevent some things from happening, living our whole life trying to prevent things from happening. And that is technically us one step away out of our power. Now I think this eclipse is let go of trying to prevent things from not happening. Let go of trying to prevent negatives. Stop putting energy into preventing negatives. Instead, put energy into promoting positives. And that to me is the simplest way of kind of describing the spiritual architecture, energetic shift that I think is happening this week. And it's happening whether you're aware of it or not. And, you know, as people wake up, they'll realize it to its, entirety. What's interesting is, I forgot to mention this in the last segment, Mercury goes retrograde on Thursday, and it goes retrograde at step 23 Leo, which is the Grandmaster step. Step 23 Leo is the Grandmaster step of what you feel your heart's mission is. What you feel your heart's mission is, step 23. The big picture of the heart's mission. Amazing. So literally, this eclipse has us releasing from what our ego thought we belonged and what our ego thought we were supposed to chase after, okay? And also erasing and rewriting what the big picture of our heart's mission was. We thought our heart's mission was to prove something. We thought our heart's mission was to fix this or to do that or to save the world and all these different things. And all those heart's mission statements, let's say, were all based on a response to the past. Were all based on a response to our inner wounds. Were all written before we actually addressed our inner wounds. So in this last 30 years, since Saturn has been in Capricorn, frankly, we have been addressing our wounds. For those of us who have been doing the work and showing up, and I've been on the air for 12 years now. Many of you have been with me for 12 years. We have been at this. We're now at a point where We're ready to write a new heartfelt mission statement that is not based on not being something else. That's based on the truth and the purity of what our heart truly wants. Okay? So I think this is a very exciting time. But I'm very calm about it too. I'm just looking at the planet. So on the actual eclipse, just to give a little how much power is involved here galactically, the eclipse is at step 4. That is I belong. So I belong is the law of attraction. This is the change of fate. This is your heart deciding you don't belong chasing ambulances as an attorney. You belong public defending. You don't belong serving burgers for a minimum wage. You belong owning the restaurant. You don't. So our heart is realizing that this is the conscious awakening where you realize your heart doesn't belong where it has been probably for a long time, but it doesn't belong there. It was only there because it was trying to fix something or trying to make up for something or trying to prove something. But now that we've proved that or fixed it or made up for it, I don't know if I belong here anymore. So the heart, step 4 is, in essence, what's happening is your heart is going to change teams. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have a change of heart. Okay? Some people will be forced into a change of heart because it's like, oh, I thought I belonged working for Atari, and they just filed bankruptcy. They haven't, but, you know, so it's like, okay, now you have to have a change of heart. So some people's, you know, because some, you know, CEO somewhere decides that they don't belong being a CEO of Atari anymore, that forces all the people who thought they were going to work at Atari, that's not, so it's really everyone changing their, where their heart feels they belong, but it has consequences. And for people who aren't awake, I think they get kind of shoved into those choices, which is okay. That's a nice thing. It's like you get shoved into the cab and you still get to go there. Mercury's at step 23 retrograde, like I said, in Leo. So literally the span of this eclipse is from step 4 to Leo to step 23 Leo. From where you belong to what your big mission, what the mission of the heart is. So from where you belong to the mission of the heart is going to be rewritten. That's huge. Okay? That's huge. And in many cases, people are just coming into their heart. They're coming into their heart's truth. For many people, this is, you've been living in denial this whole time. You've been living out of sync this whole time, out of integrity this whole time, not true to your heart this whole time. So for most people, this isn't a negative. This is an enlightenment. This is a holy shift. I can finally be who I want to be and shine the way I want to be and not make any excuses or promises to anyone that I don't have to make promises to. You know what I mean? Like a powerful thing. So there's this change of heart. That's the sun side. Then on the moon side, which is a full moon, we have, of course, the earth in the center. So the earth's shadow casts on the moon. That's what creates a lunar eclipse. The lunar is eclipsed by the moon's shadow. By the earth's shadow, excuse me. And the earth's shadow means, basically, all the darkness of the earth, or all of the unmanifested of the earth. And this is why eclipses are so powerful, lunar eclipses, because the earth's shadow is everything the earth is not paying attention to, that's not in the light of earth, all the stuff that's underneath the seams, all the secrets, all the stuff. It's that. It's all the stuff we haven't addressed, the dark stuff, the shadow of the earth. The shadow of the earth gets cast upon the moon, which is basically like putting a record on a record player. The universe is saying, okay, all these unrealized truths, all these unrealized events, make it so. That's what happens with the full moon. And it's at step 4, so it's make it so. And in that make it so, it is you don't belong here on earth. You belong here. So there is a kind of an energetic, geographic remapping that's going to happen, where a lot of people will be ready like to move and change, and like after this you're going to see a lot of migration and a lot of changes of direction, because people are going to realize if my heart's not attached to this, then it must be attached to this. So the moon is going to, emotionally, you're going to go through my heart. I've had a change of heart. That's the one side of it. The other side of it is I don't belong here. I belong there. So there's a belonging shift, which is the moon in Aquarius, where we feel we belong, where we feel our calling is. Now, the moon also conjuncts Mars retrograde, which means that in this kind of energetic spell, which is what I call this, is a spiritual spell, in this spell, the old ego, which means the old mission, is dead. So in this spell, there's a There's the death of the old mission, and because Mars is retrograde, we don't know what the new mission is. We just know we're not going to be on the old mission. And we just know that we're not going to do it the old way. So there is this decommissioning of old ego battles, decommissioning of old ego struggles, decommissioning of old conflicts that goes into this kind of energetic spell, and putting down to rest finally certain things that we wanted to do. The South Node is also there. The South Node is going to be at step 5, Aquarius. And the nodes at 5 means the idea. So in this moment too, the node at step 5 means you had this idea of where you belonged. You have this idea of what your heart wanted. So the nodes are saying we're also going to change the idea that we had about this, of where we belonged and what our heart wanted. And then, of course, it goes into Capricorn and conjuncts Black Lilith at step 28, Capricorn, which, by the way, is the step number that Mars will stop at in the retrograde on August 28th or 27th. I can't remember which day. But that's where Mars will stop, is at step 28. So in the same moment, it also says that we are also going to face any fears that we might have had left over still, any fears you still have left inside of you about being able to manifest the life you want, about being able to climb the mountain you want to climb, to be the person you want to be. Any fears of that, you must extinguish now. So it's kind of like if you decided, you know, what just came to mind, like back in the Old West, if there was gold in the hills in California, we might have decided living in Boston, hey, we're gonna go search for gold. It's like, okay, well, you better extinguish any fears you have about Indians, and you better extinguish any fears you have about rattlesnakes, right? Because you have decided to go on this adventure and follow the heart. So there's this also this processing of, you know, I must leave certain fears at the door at this moment. Think of my heartfelt mission in different terms. And then Venus is at step 19 Virgo, which is just crazy. Venus is what we're opening up to. But that means at that cosmic moment, we are now holding space to manifest a new reality. Step 19 Virgo is literally a new reality, because 19 is I manifest. So all of this is to create a new reality. This, in my opinion, now energetically, it's going to feel very, very quiet, even though it's going to be a very powerful energetic shift. It's one of those, it's what amazes me about consciousness and paradoxes. It's like Gandhi could be on a train in India staring out the window, and in one tiny moment, Gandhi's staring out the window and he decides, you know what, I'm going to lead the Indian people to independence. It's in that quiet moment on the train. That's when actually fate changed, when he decided on the train, right? That's kind of what this eclipse is. It'll be very, very quiet in each individual. We're not going to see for weeks this shift in the outer world until Mars goes retrograde, goes direct and other things. We're not going to see the actual shift, but inside each person's heart will be just a tiny little nano adjustment of where they belong or don't belong, etc. And I think that will turn into a complete riptide of manifestation change. And I believe this is the beginning of the story we were born to live. Jupiter is direct. The playhead is moving forward. The Akashic records are being written with your decision. You are changing your fate with your decision. This is multi-lifetime. For anyone who is awake and aware on the planet, this is the moment you were born to live, and this is the moment where you declare what you're here for. So if you already know what that is, reaffirm. If you don't know what that is, hold space and ask for guidance. But we're all moving to that direction. And in my opinion, when Jupiter moves into Sag in November, that's when we start seeing the narrative in the reality move forward. So that's my dynamic of it. Share it with your friends, please, because I am channeling some of this, and it's good for everyone out there. I want to talk about now how this is going to affect all 12 signs, okay, and give you a little bit of advice for each of the 12 signs. This absolutely applies to your rising sign as well, so I would listen to both. Realize you must execute the sun sign before you execute the rising sign. There is an order in which things appear on material stage, and so you must have the conscious adjustment first in source, which is sun source, and then in rising, how the sun rises right after the next day. And as always, I'm going to put on the side here the astrology sign that I am working on. Starting with Aries. All right, Aries. Aries basically they belong loving themselves on a higher level. That's simple. They belong loving themselves on a higher level. That's the shift of their heart. Aries rising, same thing. You belong loving yourself on a higher level. No matter how much you love yourself, it's not high enough. By the way, Aries, this is an infinite direction. You cannot in 3D understand how long this goes as far as how high the self-love can go. So this moment on the eclipse is you loving yourself on a higher level. What this means is you must let go of old ego attachments to society or friendships or status or power. You must emotionally detach from things you were aiming for in society because those things were not in alignment with loving yourself on a higher level. So things that will break apart will be friendships, social organizations, affiliations, or you may even break apart from a neighborhood, decide to move to a location on earth where your heart does belong. So time to love yourself higher, Aries. Time to let go of the old world vision and adopt a new one based on loving yourself higher. Taurus. Taurus, it's time to emotionally love yourself higher. Now, I've thought about this a lot because I'm a Taurus. I love myself a whole lot. Do I feel that love for myself a whole lot? Not often. Usually I'm too busy. I'm working. I'm doing stuff. I don't actually feel the love I have for myself. So Tauruses are literally getting into a position of making magical milk. Okay, so right now their milk is kind of because they only are feeling so much love. It's time to feel more love in your life, Taurus. It's time to feel more love on a higher level in your heart. Now, for you to feel more love on a daily level, it means you must let go of career and legacy plans, certain things that your ego is chasing after for ego's sake, certain things to prove certain things to other people. So Tauruses will be dropping out of professional situations, dropping out of professional commitments, leaving business partnerships, leaving firms. They'll be withdrawing from certain investments because they seek to feel more love in the daily moment. Same with Taurus risings. Gemini. Gemini are, it's time to think higher of yourself, to think more loving of yourself. So Geminis are increasing where their thinking belongs. It should be free of criticism, free of negativity, free of doubt. So you're looking to think higher. In order to think higher and think more loving thoughts, you must let go of old beliefs about yourself. Old beliefs about life, old beliefs about what you should or shouldn't be. So you're detaching. So Geminis are going to have some sort of belief fall right out. Okay, it's almost like finding out that the local minister is in a sex scandal. You're like, what? I can't believe in this anymore. It's like something is going to open up a Gemini's eyes and they're going to realize they can't believe in a certain direction. They can't believe something about themselves anymore. And you're going to find that by letting go of your attachment to this belief or this theory, you're then free to think higher thoughts. Cancer. Cancers actually are here to actually experience higher material love. So they're here to experience higher material love. They have been living on a budget for too long. It is time to see in the flesh, to enjoy their love in the flesh to a higher degree, to have greater self-confidence because they feel more loved and feel more cherished. It's time for Cancers to have much more material reflection of the love they have given others for so long. So it's time for them to receive what they have given, for them to manifest what they have given. For this to happen, they're going to have to let go of certain boundaries and probably of certain people. Okay, so your ego is attached to saving certain people. Your ego is attached to being there for someone, or your ego is attached to sacrificing for someone else. You have all kinds of different boundaries, and this was all your ego trying to prove certain things. And so Cancers were literally throwing themselves into the fire and undermining their potential for manifestation and power because they were attached to these certain boundaries because they had to prove something. Okay, so you must let go of these self-trust issues and boundary issues or sexual issues that prevent you from really experiencing material love and wealth and abundance that you deserve. Leos. Leos are obviously one of the most affected by this transit. Leos literally need to take their loving actions higher. So they need to love themselves in higher ways. And higher ways does not necessarily mean more expensive, Leo. It means more conscious love and energy and attention put into it. So it's time to now move into behaviors that are high conscious self-love behaviors, okay? That really treat yourself on a royal level and come from your heart for you, not based on wanting others to cherish, but you cherishing on your own terms and receiving that love from yourself. So this is a Leo learning how to be their own sun. The sun does not need any of the planets to shine bright. The sun shines, right? So Leos are finding that new shine and taking that shine to a higher level. For this to happen, they must let go of old self-treatment. So Leos get real comfortable in their den. They get real comfortable with the way they respond to themselves. They get real comfortable with themselves in certain funks. So you must let go of treating yourself a certain way. You must let go of approaching yourself from a certain attitude, whatever that attitude might be. It might be a piss-poor attitude. It might be a depressed attitude. So you must let go of old things, of trying to prove things to yourself. Let go of trying to prove certain things to yourself and just be who you need to be to yourself to get there. Virgos. Virgos are going to have a higher faith. So they belong having a higher loving faith. This is a difficult one because it's very intangible, but it is very tangible to them. When they feel it, they know it. So they have had, fears and all karma and all sorts of subconscious self-doubt and things like that. And it's time to come completely out of that for Virgos and live in this heart space of knowing everything is just fine. Their heart knows they are protected and covered by the universe. In order to get there, they must let go of old ways of living. So Virgos must let go of old sacrifices, old jobs, throwing themselves under the bus. Like, they say they can't stop certain things. That's not true. You choose not to. So they must let go of a lifestyle. They must let go of a health regimen. They must let go of some sort of a white-knuckle grip they have on reality and give reality a different opportunity to manifest for them. So they're letting go of a certain lifestyle so they can have higher faith. Libras. Libras are stepping into a higher social belonging. Their heart now feels like they should shine higher in the sky, that they should be like the Jeffersons, moving on up to a new area of town or to where they really belong or to where their like-minded friends and family are. So Libras are moving into a higher social calling, basically. And to move into that, they must let go of old self-criticism, self-love issues, self-doubt, all these games that Libras play about not being enough or not being worthy enough or having to prove themselves. This is all basically conditional love. So Libras must let go of conditional self-love, and they must grip onto unconditional self-love. It should be unconditional. And what that will do is allow you to find where you belong and shine in the world because you are backed by yourself with unconditional love versus conditional love. Scorpios. Scorpios are now taking their legacy to a higher level. Scorpio's heart had kind of, because Scorpio, they're not pessimists, they're realists. They had so many problems. They kind of set their standards at a certain height, not asking for too much, not praying for too much. And they had set a low standard, really, of what their potential is. So Scorpios are now raising their heart's potential, allowing themselves to go for what their heart truly dreams, not keeping their mind from getting in the way of that possibility. And for Scorpios to raise their career and legacy ambitions to the next level, they must completely detach from old emotional wounds. So the only way a Scorpio is going to go to this next level is if they cut their losses and their old emotional wounds. They just clean it up and let it go. Let go of the childhood stuff. Let go of the early childhood stuff. Let go of your issues with your parents. Let go of your issues with your siblings. Let it all go. If you don't let it all go and call it a loss, write it off as a loss and write it off on your taxes, okay, you're not going to be able to elevate to where you truly belong and where you deserve. Sagittarius. Sagittarius are now moving into a higher belief in themselves. So Sagittarius have always been philosophers, but skeptics. Like they weren't fully bought. They weren't fully sold. They didn't fully drink the Kool-Aid, pardon the expression. But they don't fully give in to what they actually believe. So the universe is saying, okay, it's time for you to actually practice what you preach. If you believe you're incredible, then start acting like you're incredible. If you believe that you're special, then start acting like you're special. So it's time for Sagittarius to practice what they preach in a way, but it's what their heart wants, and they're afraid is, can I have that? And in order to make that go forward, that means that you have to let go of old arguments. You have to let go of old thinking. You have to let go of old logic. You have to let go of old paradigms of thinking, old ways of structuring it. Your mind has cataloged and written you into certain corners, and you've been attached to certain thinking and certain philosophies and certain ways of going about it, and those have trapped you into a period where you can't believe in yourself because your own mental games have corrupted your wisdom and your knowledge. So it's time to go with the knowledge, let go of the facts, let go of the rhetoric inside your head, and let go of an old attitude that basically didn't believe in you. Capricorns. Capricorns are now going to trust themselves on a higher level. And notice I say trust yourself, Capricorn. Not trust the world, not trust the stock market, not trust your employer, trusting your heart and what your heart tells you. This is profound. This is going to be what separates the New Age Capricorns from the old school Capricorns. The New Age Capricorns will know in their heart. They won't have numbers. They won't have spreadsheets. They won't have evidence. Their heart will know. That's how God does it. Okay, this is how magic is really created. So the Capricorns are going to have a higher heartfelt trust. And for that to happen, they must let go of old values. They must detach from value equals your Excel spreadsheet. Value equals your net income. Value equals how much money you have in the bank. You have to let go of that definition of value and let it go away, and instead trust what your golden heart tells you is true and make that your chest of truth. Aquariuses. Aquariuses are now they're very affected by this as much as the Leos. In fact, they're very profoundly affected. There's also a solar eclipse coming that's going to affect them as well. They are now moving up to loving themselves on a higher level. Aquariuses, for whatever reason, have been reluctant to love themselves on a higher level. They have all sorts of reasons. They don't want to seem too cool. They don't want to give into it. They don't want to seem like the emperor with no clothes. They don't want to, end up in that position. So they kind of shy away and don't give themselves the love. They're afraid of being too much. They frankly don't want to be like a Leo, and that's their concern. But what happens is by not loving yourself, you end up affecting your potential glow. So Aquariuses are going to up the self-love treatment. And what they're going to have to let go of is old behaviors, old reactions and responses that were not loving, old responses to yourself that were not loving, old defense mechanisms, old ego games, old ego challenges. So Aquariuses are doing the biggest ego dump out of all the 12 signs. Their ego is completely being trashed, and they're getting a complete new one. If you have any smidge of the old ego left, Aquarius, you should think again. Ask yourself if you're loving yourself on a high enough level, because the old ego was only to get you here. You now need a new ego that is based on you loving yourself first. So every action comes from a self-love perspective. That will bring Aquariuses into the enlightenment. And then lastly, the Pisces. Pisces are upgrading their daily life. So their lifestyle is going up to a higher level. It's time for them to live in more of a Garden of Eden, more of a utopia, more of a joyful moment-to-moment, healthier status. And for you to up your quality of daily life, you must let go of the past, the karma, the fears, the subconscious, the boogeyman, all the stuff in the inside that you're afraid of facing, that you don't want to face. You have to completely delete all those files and let him go. Your place of faith, you basically have to give yourself a new beginning, to give yourself a clean slate spiritually, to give yourself a new karmic Om, okay? And from that, you will begin to build a higher quality, more loving, more vibrant, more juicy, and more colorful daily life. All right. So as you all can hear, this is I think, a profound moment. Basically, the great thing about consciousness is you just need to be aware. So think about these things. Think about in each of these areas of your A story and B story, or your sun sign and rising sign. Think about what you are letting go of, and think about where your heart feels you belong. And if you get to Friday and you are clear on that, I think the universe will take care of the rest. This is a very powerful eclipse that's going to have some profound changes. Now, with that said, I want to say goodbye and give a little gratitude. So as I close my weekly show, I want to give a little gratitude. And that is probably the big lesson I have learned, is gratitude in the last few days. Realizing that with everything that we've learned and with everything that we are and everything we've struggled through, what is the position we stand in at the end of the day? That's what I've wondered. It's like, do we stand strong? Do we stand firm? Do we stand true? And what came to me in my meditations this last week is gratitude. And gratitude sounds kind of like you should be grateful. You should be thankful. There's kind of a, I didn't always like gratitude before because it kind of felt like I was being told to do it. But now what I actually realize is gratitude is a spiritual posture that when you are waiting for the universe to work magic through you, when you are waiting to be in co-creation with another person, when you basically are waiting to be called into the game, okay, the posture is grateful. Being grateful keeps your heart open to playing along, and it also creates a spiritual sense of already knowing it's going to happen. And that's the other kind of conscious energy that has to be included in it, is that not only am I assuming God's going to take care of it, but I'm thankful already for it. I've learned that that position is the most powerful position to be in. And so I'm going to go around and start being grateful. And I just want to say in this first week's show that I'm grateful for you, my viewers. I've been actually doing this for over 12 years now. I'm going on my 13th year of being a spiritual life coach on the internet, doing horoscopes and whatnot. I have over 18,000 videos on YouTube with my face on it. I've been doing this for a very long time. And I've always said I was grateful for you guys, but I really, truly, heartfelt mean that I am grateful that you have always been with me up and down. I have mostly been on the air, but I have been off the air many times. And each time, I've really had such a wonderful, warm, loving response from all of you. Lots of prayer, lots of outreach. And I just want you to know that I'm grateful for you too. This is a co-creation that we are working in together. Now, in other parts of gratitude, I want to also say I'm grateful for my Serious Joy subscribers. This is a very unique tribe. We have subscribers around the world. And, you may go, oh, yeah, Chris has subscribers. No, these are people who are serious about their joy. This is the energy of people who are in the creme de la creme of spiritual evolution. And I've noticed my community is showing up. We're on the cutting edge. And one thing I've really begun to take pride in is, especially this last week, when I was down, my group, my tribe, they kept marching. They kept moving forward. So it's a wonderful exchange of energy. And it's a kind of interesting, it's my digital dojo. It's a digital dojo that people come into and people heal with, and people do heal. Now, with all that said, I just want to make an announcement. For those who want to subscribe, it's up to you if you're ready for the journey, if you're ready to step into your heart. But this week, I'm going to do a replay of my 40 days of self-love. I did this last year. It's a line. What it is that I basically give you a little bit of a coaching exercise each day for 40 days. In the first few days, it's a little intensive because you're working through blocks and stuff, but then it just starts to become very light. And each day for 40 days, if you begin on step 0, Leo, which is Monday of this week, you will be in complete synchronicity with the universe, and it's kind of like taking advantage of the magnetic fields of Earth to manifest. Now, last year, I had a huge surge of people who subscribed and did this 40-day exercise. There is a person who was able to purchase a home. There is a person who was reunited with a loved one. There is a person who found her soulmate and got married, who was desperately seeking before that, by the way. So this shift actually works. And And this will be available in my app. You can start anytime, but if you start in alignment with the waves, you'll see that there is tremendous feedback. So some people worry about the money of my subscription. I think it's very fair. It's $4 for the first month and then $19.95 afterwards. You will manifest so much from being in alignment with your soul and with the rhythm of your soul that I don't think money will be an object. So don't let something as simple as that get in the way. But if those who are ready to make this Lightwalker challenge with us, we are starting our 40 days of self-love. This is the launch into the story we were born to live. I've synchronized it with the Mars retrograde. I've synchronized it with the eclipses. I've synchronized it with all the planets. So if you do this now, I believe you will come out of wherever you are and onto the next chapter. Give it a try. And if you have any doubts, just ask any of my subscribers in the tribe. We have a daily comment section. Ask them how it's changed their life. Ask them how it's improved their position. You'll see for yourself. Okay. So for more information about that, go to SeriousJoy.com. And then lastly, I am so grateful for the community we found on the web. Our Facebook club, the Namaste Today Club, has a wonderful group of souls who come together. Again, another tribe coming together, sharing information on Facebook. So I encourage you to come and be a part of that if you're not ready for Serious Joy. And that is at namastetoday.club. All right, friends, I am absolutely feeling powerful shift within me. And as I record this, I don't know where it's going to end, but I'm so glad I'm not doing it alone. Thank you so much for showing up. I'll be back in 1 week with more. Until then, Goddess bless you. I love you. Live, love, be.
It's Serious Joy, Joy, Joy.